doing that is the most efficient and easiest way to make day in the life videos for me, and it might be for you too if you don't do it already.
You may or not you may know this, you may not. I don't really know, but if you don't, I really like hats. And one of the problems with living in the South during the summer is the hats they get kind of like, they can get really gross. Like, do you see that? All that discoloration? That's all discolored because of sweat. That was one year or one summer in Tennessee. Because of that, I typically get 1 or 2 new hats a year and just wear those just because I'm a creature of habit. At any event, Savannah got me a new hat today from actually this. I love this company just because their hats are really cool. I have another hat somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I wear it all the time, but it looks kind of gross like that. So all that to be said, Savannah got me a new hat, and it's a different material. I'm very excited. I don't know if you really care about that or not, but I do, and so I don't know if you ever knew this. I really didn't know this until I started really getting into running. That's really dark. Little side note, someone asked me how I adjust the brightness and stuff on the fly. I don't do it in post. I try to get the image to look as good as I possibly can in camera. I'm just changing the aperture or the shutter speeds. Basically, right now you're at a f/22, and the aperture now is at a 10. I don't really mess with the ISO just because the ISO is typically on auto for this stuff. The white balance is on auto and the ISO is on auto, and the only thing I'm really changing is the aperture or the f-stop. That's probably the easiest way to control lighting and stuff on the fly without using ND filters, and I think it's the most practical way for stuff like this. That was a little tutorial within like 2 seconds. But anyway, all that be back to running. I after you run like an extended race, there's a recovery period, and for marathon, the running plan that I'm on, it's having me do a 3-week recovery period. Well, I'm not supposed to run at all until Saturday, and it is currently Tuesday. Yeah. And then like next week I'll be back to like normal, but this week I'm like not running at all, and I'm starting to definitely feel it and get kind of. If you run at all, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, just just skip through this and don't even pay attention to it. It's just me bitching and complaining about not being able to run.
I wanted to give you a little more of the reasoning behind why I shoot with auto ISO, why I shoot with auto white balance, and why I just adjust the aperture and I don't use ND filters. Just because I feel like when I said that, I opened myself up for a couple of weird comments and other things. Just because traditionally that's not really the way that you operate a camera. Typically you want to use all 3 of those, or just for lighting, the aperture and the ISO, or a combination of those to get the best image. Because if you do crank the aperture, it does affect the bokeh and the focus of the overall image, because of that, typically people just often add more light or crank the ISO. That's one of the reasons why the A7S III is so great, because it has a dual native ISO and you can really do a lot with that. But the big reason why I don't use the auto or the reason I use auto ISO and auto white balance is simply just because I want it to be as fast and quick as I can do it. Mostly because since this is a day in the life kind of thing, I want to go about my day, and the more things that I can shoot and include in my video, the more comprehensive, the more complicated the video gets, and the more interesting the video gets, because you have more scenes, more different locations, and it helps engage you as the viewer, and to be honest, it helps me, the editor and the director, really just keep myself interested and keep the story moving. With all that being said, I found using auto white balance, the auto white balance is good enough for this camera and for like our Canon cameras, and the auto ISO is good enough as long as it remains at the 640 base. Typically when it goes above like 2000, it gets really, really grainy. And an interesting fact about the A7S III, if you have it on auto ISO and it adjusts, if it goes to the 12,800, which is their second ISO, but it's in auto mode, it's going to look terrible. You have to manually set that to get the benefits of the super clean image. I didn't know that till the first time I shot with it, and it was like that, and I was looking at the footage and it just looked terrible. But basically, all that to be said, I just use the aperture mostly to control the light, just because it's fast and it's one dial, and I know, for me at least, the content that I'm making, I'm not super worried about everything being blurred behind me. Doing that is the most efficient and easiest way to make day in the life videos for me, and it might be for you too if you don't do it already. Also, I had to do laundry. That's what the whole sequence was before that. Today's very it's chore day basically. Also, little update. Look at this lighting situation that I got. So I shot in this hallway, which is kind of dark, and obviously there's no windows or anything lighting me, so I just used those two Nan lights. I love those things. I love the bar Nan lights because they make everything look so natural, and there's no like hot spots on me because of the light. The link for them will be down below. I love them. The only critique is the battery life isn't as good as the Aputure, which is why I take the Aputure with me traveling, because the Aputure just lasts a lot longer and it's a little bit smaller. Yeah, but the image that they produce is incredible. It looks so good.